Local storage. What's that scrunchy face mean? Who did local storage? Several of you. Everybody who did local storage, raise their hand. Be proud. That's nice and all, but let's learn about local storage right now. Okay, cool. So, how do we do it? What the heck is local storage anyway? It is window.localStorage, by the way. Ooh, there's a bunch of stuff in there already. I'm just going to cheat real quick and clear it out. Okay. Local storage. It's this little object thingy. Read all about it. Local storage. This is another HTML5 era feature. Allows you to access a local storage object, similar to session storage, not that we know anything about that. Only difference is that while data stored in local storage has no expiration time, data stored in session storage gets cleared when the browsing session is, when you close your browser. So local storage will even stick around when we close the browser and reopen it. It should be noted that data stored in either local storage or session storage is specific to the protocol of the page. What's the protocol? The heck is that? Anybody know what the protocol is? Like HTTP? So in this case, it's actually file. We're not actually serving this with a web server. We're just loading it from the file system. So it's specific to that, and it's specific to the host. So in our JavaScript, we're not going to be able to get to the local storage that, you know, Reddit or whatever put in there. We can't read that. That's not allowed. So you don't have to worry about that. So, how do we do things with it? Local storage set item. If we just tried to say local storage dot food equals apple, that works in a lot of the time. That is not the proper way to do it, and it does not work everywhere. You're supposed to say set item. First tell it the key as a string, and then the value. So set item, name, value, Davy. How do I get it back? Local storage, get item, name, Davy. By the way, in the developer tools on the application tab, there's this handy dandy little way to look at your local storage. No, I'm going to refresh the page. It's not doing right now. Oh, come on. What are you doing? Yeah, close the developer tools and open it back up. There you go. Name, Davy. Yay. Okay. So what if we... Let's make sure we got some dinos in our array. Dinos are exhausting to come up with. We're just going to go with Jules Archaeopteryx. Keep it simple. Archaeopteryx is totally 100% a dinosaur. Pterodactyl isn't. Archaeopteryx, totally a dinosaur. And a bird. Okay. What we're doing? Oh, local storage, right. So we have Jachylosaurus. So app.dinos is the array with those two objects in it. So if we want to store that in local storage. Local storage dot set item. We'll set it at the key dinos. Makes sense. The value, app.dinos. What do you think? Local storage dot get item dinos. All right. Bracket object object, comma, bracket object object. Helpful, right? Okay, there's some bullcrap going on here. Let's make an array. Let veggies, carrot, turnip, local storage, set item, veggies, veggies, local storage, get item, veggies, the string carrot, comma, turnip. Okay, I'm getting suspicious. Let's say let food equal an object, breakfast, colon, what you have for breakfast, Anthony? A granola bar. Everybody with their granola bars. Comma, lunch. What you have for lunch, Tom? Null. Okay. Local storage. Set item. Food. Food. What's your prediction? Never mind the people who've already done it. What's your prediction? Object object. It's converting everything to a string. So local storage only stores strings. So we're going to have to convert things to a string. But we know that calling toString on an object just makes object object. So, fortunately, there's a better way. What is that way? Someone who actually did it. Saw you first, Andrew? JSON. JSON dot stringify food. What do we get? Aha. We get a string with what looks an awful lot like an object. What does JSON stand for? JavaScript Object Notation. So not a coincidence. Now, not every single way we could create an object in JavaScript is valid JSON. There are a few rules. In JavaScript, we can get away with not putting quotes around the keys. Not so in JSON. According to the specs of JSON, you must use double quotes around the keys. And you must use double quotes around the values, string values. No single quotes. No single quotes, no leaving the quotes off. Otherwise, it looks an awful lot like actual JavaScript object notation. Okay, great. I've got this string of JSON. How do I turn it back into an object? Yeah, Mateen. JSON.parse. So let's say let food string equal JSON stringify food. And it's called JSON parse food string. And we get back the actual object. Cool. So it sounds like what we need to do is JSON stringify app.dinos and store that. When do we want to call that? At what point in our app? Where do I want to write that line? What do you think? When do I want to write it to local storage? You were in the morning. What did you say? So what did you say?
I said when we save.
Okay, and when is that? Deanna, what do you say? I want to save these things to local storage. When? As soon as the page loads? Nothing in the array yet, right? When do you want to save them to local storage? If you were the saving type, when would you do your saving? What do you think, Skylar? After the event? Which one? We got a couple of events now. What do you think, Marshall? When do we want to save it to local storage? What'd you say, David? I click the button. Okay, when we add a dinosaur. Add dino. Okay, here we go. Okay, at which point in here? We want to write it to local storage. At what point, Heidi? What do you think? Sorry? At the end. So what do we have to be absolutely sure happens first before we write it to local storage? Added to the list, and by the list you mean the array, right? Because it's the array that we're putting in local storage. So every time the array changes, we need to write to local storage. So that happens with unshift, right? So we can put it right under unshift if we want. Local storage dot set item. We'll use the key dinos. The value is this dot dinos. I'm going to say local storage dot remove item dinos over here to get rid of the stuff we've been screwing around with in the console. Let's see if it works. Refresh. QWER. Local storage dot get item dinos. Object. What do we do? What do we forget? Yeah. Gotta say JSON stringify. It's happy to convert it to a string, just not the string we want. Once again, remove these. Refresh. LKJH. Get item dinos. All right. Now it's a string with the structure we want. To turn it back into real things, we could use JSON parse. JSON stringify turns them into a string from which we can get the actual object back later, or the actual array in this case. You dig? What if we remove one? Let's remove K. We didn't update it, right? Every time the array changes, we need to do it again. I don't want to type this over and over. So I'm going to extract this into a method. Let's call it save. Comma. And it's just going to set local storage. Am I going to have a problem with this? Well, we haven't called it yet, right? So where we did right under after unshift, right? We're going to call this .save. I'm going to have a problem with this. Nope, it's fine. Because we called it as a method. So this is going to be the object. Event handlers give us problems. Regular old methods, when we call it like this, are fine. And little anonymous functions give us problems too, unless we use arrow functions. But this will be fine. So we'll save it when we add it to the array. And we'll save it anytime we delete one. And which thing needs to have happened? Removing it from the DOM or removing it from the array? Which one syncs with local storage? The array. So we need to make sure that's happened. We could do it right here if we wanted. Say this.save. We could do it at the very end if we think it's a little easier to follow. Oops. By the way, we removed this list item, and then we get the ID out of it. And it worked. Huh. Why? Remove just took it out of the DOM. It didn't blow it away. The object is still perfectly intact. It's just not in the DOM anymore. It's not on the page. But it's there in our hearts. So did that work? Refresh. Got T-Rex. We got Tricey. We got Stego. Let's remove Tricey. Let's check local storage. Get item dinos. Yay, just Stego and T-Rex. It worked. So now we're adding them to local storage. Doing it just right. Add dinos to local storage.